Hello and welcome to the show. I've been following Andrea Milner on Instagram for a while now, where she's completely transparent about her physical transformation. Andrea is someone who was facing early menopause and the challenges that go along with it, including stubborn weight gain. On the show today, she shares with us what she's learned about the importance of protein in our diet, eating enough calories, and here's my favorite part, how strenuous cardio is not the answer for fat loss. You're going to want to stick around. I think you're going to like what she has to say. Thank you for being here, Andrea. I'm looking forward to sharing your wisdom with everyone.
Nice to meet you on here. I'm excited to do this today.
Well, let's go back. I've been aware of your story for a while now, and I follow your stories. And I want to go back to the beginning of when you realized the need for transformation, because you'd shared with me before that you were athletic, you didn't struggle with your weight, you kind of thought you knew how to take care of all of this. So tell me about that part of your life. And then at what point did you start thinking, maybe I have to figure out a different way?
Okay. So this started about 2018, 2019. I found myself in a position with life changes, career. I was working a stressful job in law enforcement, working nights, which is never great for women in their 40s, lack of sleep, all of those things. And in that process, I started putting on, gradually within a year, I put on about 20 to 25 pounds. I'm a small frame. So as I would get on the scale, I would see the scale continuing to climb. And I got to a point in about 2019 that I knew that there was something I had to do to slow this weight gain, but I really didn't know how to combat that. All I knew is what had worked in the past.
And what had worked in the past? Because you were athletic, running. You didn't have weight issues. Running, okay.
Running, I always ran. I did a lot of cardio HIIT, all of those things.
It's so brutal. When you say cardio HIIT, I mean, that is the thing I loathe the most.
Yep. So I think most people do.
Yeah. So people watching, listen up, because there is an answer outside of HIIT. So we're going to get to it, but go ahead.
Yes. So it started in about 2020. I had kind of hit that peak of my weight gain.
So what were you doing? So you were running. What else? Had you changed your diet? Running. What were you doing?
I was eating clean. So when I say eating clean, I felt like if I was eating a lot of fruits and vegetables and clean foods, unprocessed foods, I cut out sugar, I cut out anything processed. I would not eat out, that I felt like that's all I needed to do. I'll cut out bread, I'll cut out flour, I'll cut out pasta, I'll cut out all of these things, rice, potatoes, everything I could think of that was a carb. And I will just run 7 days a week. I was doing it twice a day. I did it for about 6 months. How did you feel?
Because not having any of that we know, that carb energy that you need, how did you feel? How were you at kind of what you're explaining, keto, really? How did your body function in that?
In the beginning it was difficult, but I think more of it was the mental challenge of getting up every day and running in a way that I did not enjoy. It was cold. It was rainy most of the time in Washington. I didn't enjoy it. Every day I dreaded it, but I felt guilty if I didn't do it, because I felt like if I had to just continuing to push myself in this way, I would get those results that I was looking for. So I did for about 6 months.
And did the scale move at all? And I'm guessing you're probably weighing yourself all the time.
Yep, 1 pound. And that's it. And I was burning so many calories and I felt so exhausted all the time, and I was not taking rest days. And I just got to that point where I knew that there was another way. I just hadn't discovered it yet.
So growing up, you were athletic and you ate clean. So you knew what clean looked like.
Yeah.
Right. You had some knowledge of a healthy diet. I heard this really good quote the other day that I'm going to mess it up, but it was something about how we know there's a problem with our obesity epidemic when eating healthy is a diet.
Yes.
So
is true.
just the fact that we're eating healthy means we're on a
Yes,
diet instead of just eating healthy. Yeah.
exactly. It feels extreme to people,
Yes,
that
exactly. Or they
you're
go
gonna do
to
that.
the extreme. They
Yeah.
don't just focus on, healthy protein, lean greens and all of
Yes.
that. It's got to be
Yes.
one thing or another.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Yes.
one of those people that I don't have a lot of gray areas,
Mm-hmm.
and so we're going to talk about that. But so then you lost 1 pound in 6
Mm-hmm.
months
Yep.
and you had to do something different. So how did
Yes.
you even start? Because some people would just give up
Uh-huh.
or go to some crash diet, but you really
Mm-hmm.
wanted to feel good too.
Yes.
It wasn't just your looks, but you were coming into an
Yeah.
age that you knew you were gonna have to change things.
I knew I needed to get a grasp on it. I know that menopause is in the future. And if I couldn't figure it out now, what was I going to do down the road? And so I had seen and heard many times about tracking your macros, counting your calories, all that, but I had never done it before in my life. And I actually really thought that people that tracked their food was extreme. That to
Yeah.
me seemed extreme. And so I had always been really against that. And I had, in some ways had a lot of healthy eating lifestyle habits, but I just felt like that was extreme. And so I got to a point where you kind of hit that wall where you're like, okay, I'm willing to try something completely different. I want to give this a try. I want to understand what I'm putting in my body. And so I remember I downloaded an app and I told my husband, I'm going to get a food scale and I'm going to track my food for 1 week, just everything I ate, just to see
How did you even
where I'm
choose
at.
which app to use?
I had followed several people from First Form on Instagram. And so I downloaded the First Form app and decided, okay, I'm just going to give this one a try for 1 week. So I remember my husband thinking, you're crazy. You're going to sit there and track every little thing. I'm like,
Right.
I'm going to track every little thing for 1 week.
Oh, what fun. Yeah.
Um, but what I realized in that
Yes.
is that number one, my protein was extremely low, very, very low. And so I realized as I was tracking and kind of had some goals with my calories within the app that I needed to get my protein intake up. And getting my protein intake up, suddenly I felt better. I felt
Mhm.
satiated. I felt energetic. I had more food in my body. I just felt better overall. I was sleeping better. And so that week went by and my husband jumped on board and he
Oh,
said,
good.
I'm going to try this. Okay.
Well, let's stop there. Let's take a break. When we come back, I want to
Yes,
talk more about that. And I want to talk to you
sure.
about, it's a formula, it's a
Yeah.
science, this macro,
Mhm.
because if you don't balance the protein, you're going to overeat fat. If you don't balance the
Mhm.
protein, you're going to overeat carbs with fat. It is a science,
Mhm.
but you get to, what is it? Just like your clothing, you wear 20% of your clothes 80% of the time, you kind of eat the same stuff all the
Yeah,
time. So you do
exactly.
get familiar with it. You're not having
You
to
do.
track the 10 almonds you eat with a snack every
Mhm.
day. You just get
Yes.
to know that that's what you eat. So let's take a break. We're talking with Andrea Milner. We'll be back in just a moment. We're back talking with Andrea Milner. We're talking all things macros and keeping track of what we put in our mouth. And you were talking about the importance of protein. But when we left last segment, your husband got on board with this tracking when he was saying, that sounds like a crazy idea. What do you think
Yes.
about what you were doing made him decide to do it with you?
I think he saw that I was feeling better. I was feeling satiated. I was getting a lot more food in my body. And I think he got some curiosity about that and wanted to jump on board with me.
Now, did you stop
Um,
running?
I stopped. So I'd stopped my running to like 2 days a week. I slowed down my running and I was doing some just very beginner baby weightlifting, sorry,
Uh-huh.
bodybuilding, but very little weightlifting, light dumbbells. I didn't have a lot of weights at that time and just kind of starting incorporating those, kind of trimming down my running.
And that had come in your research as well, the importance of
Yep.
muscle tone and how it affects our
Yes.
metabolism more than almost anything else we do.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So
So
that
what
was,
was it
I was
like then for him on board and how much success? Now, did you throw out the scale or did you keep checking?
I did not. So at that time, I was still completely obsessed with getting on that scale every single day to see what my body was doing as I was changing my diet, incorporating more protein, kind of slowing down my running. And within that first month, I'm trying to remember. I think I dropped just a couple of pounds, but it wasn't even about that weight. I felt so much better.
And were you
I
feeling
felt
it
so
in your
much better.
clothes then?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. I was feeling at my clothes. Things were fitting me, starting to fit me differently, even though the scale wasn't really reflecting a whole lot, maybe just a couple of pounds, which is very, very little, depending on water weight gain and
Sure.
all of that. It's very small. But I started to feel those changes, started to see those changes, and now I'm over a month in and I'm just wanting more information. And I started really digging and really wanting to understand macros and decided to get certified as a nutrition coach through Precision Nutrition, not to coach people, but just for the knowledge for my husband and I. We were both really enjoying it. And that's kind of how that started with getting certified.
So when you're tracking, because a lot of people, when you talk about tracking, I'm one of those people.
Mm-hmm.
Once I'm doing it, but it's
Yep.
kind of hard to get, but you get to, it also gets you looking at, okay, what is 3 ounces of fish and
Yeah.
what is, and I keep boiled shrimp in the fridge. It's an easy way to
Yeah.
get some protein in because
Mm-hmm.
it is hard to get in the beginning, especially to get the protein in that you need because you weren't focused on protein. You were focused on the scale and
Yeah.
calories or
Yes.
getting your water in or
Yes.
something. But protein is a really probably one of the most important macros in terms of the changes people need to make.
Yes.
Because we've done
So,
the low carb, we've done the low fat, we've done
mm-hmm.
all that. And you don't really hear a lot about the protein unless you're
Yeah.
talking macros.
Yes, super important. Our bodies cannot, we have to build up that protein every single day. Our body does not store protein like it stores carbs and fats. So we need that to replenish that protein every single day. So always focusing on protein for your meals and snacks is very, very important. Also, as you have more protein in your body, you feel more satiated. You're
Yes.
less likely to snack on all the other little carbs and fat. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but you need a certain amount of your calories, of your caloric intake to come from protein. And you're
So then
less
how was
likely to snack.
go ahead, sorry. How?
Oh, I said you're less likely to snack because
Yes.
you are feeling satiated with the protein.
So then now let's talk about the weightlifting part because a lot
Mm-hmm.
of women,
Mm-hmm.
so I am someone who builds muscle really easily.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never been afraid of being bulky about it or
Mm-hmm.
anything. I have kind of an athletic build when I'm feeling fit, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
good with that. But there
Mm-hmm.
are some women who think, oh, I don't want to lift. I'm going to end up bulky. I'm going to end up looking bigger than I want to. And you posted a picture just the other day, and that's when I finally reached out and said, we got to talk about this on my show.
Mm-hmm.
I have a picture of you at 117 pounds and a picture of you at
So 112 pounds and
112.
127
So yeah,
pounds.
so 25, what is that? 15-pound difference. What am I,
Yes,
why is my
15
math working?
pounds. 15
15
pounds.
pounds different. So the difference in that picture alone, and
Yes.
people think, oh, 112 to 120, that's what would I give to be 127? But
Mm-hmm.
you're, like you said, you're a small frame. And it
Yeah,
really, all that matters is where we are in comfortability for ourselves and our health.
exactly.
And so you
Exactly.
weren't feeling good and now you're starting to feel good. So let's talk about the weightlifting and the weight
Mm-hmm.
training. Were you afraid of it? That
No, I
bulky
wasn't.
scare?
I wasn't afraid of it, and I think that is really a difference that I feel of my success that I've had, even with coaching with clients, is people are afraid of it. They're afraid to bring more food, and they're afraid to lift more weights. They're afraid of looking bulky, and I wasn't. I kind of was at that mindset where it's just like I'm ready for something
Right.
completely different, and you can't keep doing the same thing you've always done and expect a different result.
Yes,
So I knew I
exactly.
had to do it differently. So I jumped really into weightlifting. This was during 2020. So
Good time to
gyms were
start.
closed.
Right.
Yes, but gyms were closed. So I couldn't
Sure.
work with somebody. So I hired an online person, a coach to help me with my lifts, to kind of help me with my form feedback. I would send videos back and forth and they would help me with my form, which helped me tremendously because form is very important, especially as we're getting older. I don't want to injure myself.
Sure.
And I started getting hungrier because I'm lifting more weight. So then I started increasing my calories, and it started going from there. And that was about 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago. And I've never looked back at it. I absolutely love how I feel.
Well, and so when we're showing your workouts here and how
Yeah.
strong you are,
Mhm.
and I wonder too, as you were going along in this process, at what point did you feel like you'd reached, because we're not looking at the scale now. A lot of people
Mhm.
say goal weight. I'm 10
Yeah.
pounds from my goal weight, or
Mhm.
whatever that is. When did you feel like you'd reached your goal? What was that benchmark for you?
Well, as far as weight, I don't really feel like I've ever reached my goal because this is something that I enjoy and I'm going to continue to do for probably the rest of my life.
Right.
There's always the goal. My goal keeps increasing,
Sure.
lift more weight or be able to do more things, so
Facing
that
the
will
best version of yourself, right?
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. As far as looks wise, physically, I'm definitely, my weight was sitting around 130. It fluctuates between, 127, 130, 131. Back in the day, you would have asked me that. I would have died knowing I weighed that much. And now that it's just a number, it really doesn't mean anything to me. I feel good at this weight. I actually like myself with more muscle and to feel stronger. It's just something I enjoy, and I don't have any issues with that number anymore. I've actually lost
Yes.
all relationship with the scale. I'll go a month or two without even stepping on the scale. I'm just like, okay, whatever.
Well, yeah, because if for
It's a good
you, if your
feeling.
pants didn't button, you would start to get concerned, right? And let's
Yes,
talk about
yes,
the strength too,
yeah.
because you live kind of out in the
Uh-huh.
woods and you're
Mhm.
tromping around in the woods and you're
Mhm.
hiking and doing things. And in your everyday life,
Mhm.
you require strength.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so how does that affect you? Because I think one of the most important things that we can do is the workouts that simulate the things that we do in life,
Exactly. Yeah.
getting up from the ground without having to hold on to anything and all of
Mhm.
these different things.
Mhm.
It will bode well for our aging.
Yeah, exactly. Being able to carry things. We split wood here. We're doing all kinds of stuff here on the property, and I never feel like I'm not capable of lifting or moving or helping my husband. It's just the two of us. We're pretty far out here from having anybody close to where we live.
Yeah.
So anything we do project wise, it's the two of us. And so yeah, being able to lift and like you said, get up from different positions and not struggle with that. And as we age, people think we get to this point where we're too old, and it's complete
Yeah.
nonsense. We're not too old, but we do need to continue to put that muscle on our body so that we are able to continue to do the things as we get
Yeah.
older.
Well, and
So,
that's the thing that I like about your story and transformation too, is a lot of us, I'm 51 years old.
mhm,
I'm I'm not in menopause yet.
mhm,
I'm not even, I'm not yet, which is a
mhm,
miracle in itself because I could have
mhm,
been put in early menopause from chemo at 24 years old. So
mm,
I'm nothing but grateful. Um,
mhm,
but there are a lot of friends I talk with, women I talk with, people I've had on the show who've kind of gotten to that point too, where it's, well, what is this going to look like? How does this look
mhm,
for me?
mhm,
And we don't want to resolve to feeling not as good or
mhm,
having extra weight or having extra bloat or having less sleep,
mhm,
whatever it is, because we know when we're
mhm.
eating better, we're working out, we're doing these things, we're sleeping better, all the things come together.
Yeah.
So when we come back, let's take a break and I want to talk about how you took that training that you got,
Mhm.
that you wanted just to learn for yourself, and now you're using it to help other people. So
Sure.
we'll talk about that. We're
Okay.
talking with Andrea Milner, all things macros and just choosing a healthier lifestyle. We'll be back in just a moment. We're finishing up with Andrea Milner, and we're talking about the transformation she made, knowing, Andrea, that menopause was approaching, what you were
Mhm.
doing, jogging 7 days a week, twice a day, and cutting
Yeah.
calories wasn't working. And now you lift, you
Mhm.
keep track of macros, you pay a lot of attention to your protein.
Mhm.
And this training that you got for yourself to educate yourself and your husband along that journey, you now have taken that knowledge and you help other people. You're a
Yes.
coach to other people about their macros, not a personal trainer, but a coach about macros specifically. So tell us about that.
Okay, so like I said, this started out with just wanting more knowledge for my husband and I. But as I started digging in deeper to this and sharing information on my Instagram, people started reaching out, family members, friends, kind of started from there asking me to help them with coaching. So I started coaching them, and then, the word spreads. You start to get people start coming at you, want help, because this is such an area for women that is such a struggle. Most women that I've worked with, pretty much almost all women, have come from years of dieting and eating a low calorie lifestyle, that 1,200 calories, frustrated. They're just not making any progress. So I work with clients one-on-one, men and women, to help them understand nutrition, how to fuel their body properly, how to actually, we start with their goals and what their goal is, and I help guide them in that process to reach that goal with their nutrition. Like I said, I'm not a personal trainer, so I help them with activity, but my main goal is just that nutrition and helping them understand the scale and how it relates to their body, clothes, the way clothes fit, photos, all of that, and really just gain that confidence with the food, because food is such a key factor in the whole process of having that lifestyle that's maintainable. So
what would you say is the biggest challenge you help them overcome? Is it taking in more food, throwing out the scale, or incorporating weight training? Or is it all three?
It is weight, a lot of women are really jumping on the weight training thing, which is awesome. I love to see that.
Yes.
It's fun. It's inspiring. People are motivated. I would say definitely people are surprised at how much food they're able to eat, especially if they are weight training. Your body needs more. You need calories to build that muscle. And as you build that muscle, things, if you take a pound of muscle and a pound of fat, a pound of muscle is smaller on your body. They're both weigh a pound, so the scale may stay the same, but it's smaller. It takes up less mass on your body. And so as women start to put, or men put on that muscle, they start to see those shifts and changes, and really encouraging them to be able to eat more and tracking their foods so they understand their intake and portion sizes and all of that.
So in the way you go about it, it's no longer looking at, oh, I burned 400 calories on the treadmill, now I can eat 400 calories. It's really got nothing to do with that. And real quick, we just have 1 minute left, but I forgot to ask you, and I know people are going to wonder, what kind of cardio, if any, do you do now?
Walking. I really don't do any cardio. Every now and then, if I feel like going for a run, I'll go for a run. But now I don't have to feel like I have to go for a run, which is pretty far and few between, to be honest. I set myself up with a step goal. My husband does a step goal. My clients have step goals. Basically, just throw on a podcast and go for a walk. Take your dog for a walk. Enjoy nature. Get outside. That's really all. It's enjoyable.
Right. And one of the things I'll say, your workouts, I'm sure your heart rate's getting up just fine.
Totally.
Yeah. So it isn't no more HIIT for you, huh?
No
so
more
anyone
HIIT.
who doesn't like HIIT, this is your answer.
You don't need it. You don't need it.
Oh, goodness. Well, thank you so much for being here, Andrea. I appreciate you, and I keep following you. You are inspiring. I love how vulnerable you are and all the pictures you share. And I think I know you're a help to a lot of people. So I wanted to share your story here. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me.